Hello, everybody, and welcome to Top 5 New Comics for March 12th of 2025. I'm, as always, Chris, and let's jump right in because we got some cool books to talk about. Starting with Absolute Superman number 5. This is written by Jason Aaron, with art by Rafa Sandoval, colors by Ulises Arreola. So, I mean, we can go on about the Absolute Universe for the 100th time if you want. I'm sorry, my voice is starting to go. But we're not going to because it's awesome. I'm loving it. Everything there's great. But with this book in particular, we've got this new look at Superman, the kind of refugee from Krypton that's maybe not connected to the Kents as much, doesn't have that double life, is missing some aspects of the regular Superman that we know, at least so far. We'll see where all that leads. And this story in particular is mostly just setting up the power set, how he is seen by people, how he reacts to people, all that kind of thing. And this is going to be the end of that story arc. And it's all based on this different version of Krypton, where instead of him being shot off as a child, a baby, he seems to be more in his early teens or maybe a little bit earlier than that of his life when he gets there. And not only that, but Krypton itself seems different, where the S doesn't stand for the House of L on his chest. It actually is a class system that was set up on this version of Krypton. And the S is kind of the worker class, which leads into some of his decisions and who he helps and how he sees things on Earth when he gets here. So just a lot of really interesting dilemmas going on, interesting themes and storylines and all this. It's just been really cool to see this version of the character with an amazing creative team behind it. Said it once, said it a million times. The Absolute Universe is just awesome so far. After that, I have Batman Dark Patterns number 4. This is written by Dan Watters with art by Hayden Sherman and colors by Triona Farrell. So if you didn't know about Dark Patterns, they're doing, I believe there's 3 cases throughout the series of this book, these 8 issues. Really weird why it isn't 9. But we just finished up the first case with the guy with all the nails and whatnot in his body and how that all ended up. Now we're on to case 2, so we're almost at like a new number 1 for this series. And based solely on the strength of those first 3 issues, this has just been my favorite Batman book on the market, which is saying a lot because I think that Chip's book is really good. And there's been some really great Black Label Batman books. And what's great about it is this really dives into the detective side of Batman more than the punchy side. It's even shown a lot in that first story arc where he literally has a villain that he can't hit because if he does, he could kill him. And I just love that Dan and the team decided to dive down that aspect of him, because it's when we always talk about he's the world's greatest detective, he's all these things. And yet it always seems to come down to him just punching someone really hard and sending them to prison. So now we're into the second story arc, and it seems to be mixing another one of my favorite things, which is Batman meets Die Hard, because we're in this building, there's something going on, and he's got to figure out what happened in this building through this story arc. And you can see from the amazing cover that they did for it, that Hayden drew, that it just looks like a really fun, epic story for this second case. So I'm really excited to just dive into what it is and how it's going to twist and turn along the way with that. So just Dark Patterns has been phenomenal. If you're not reading it, you definitely need to check it out. If you're a trade waiter, this is one that you definitely want to pick up when a trade comes out. After that, I've got Nick Fury versus Fang Foom number 1. This is written by J. Michael Straczynski with art by Elan Casagrande, colors by Mattia Iancono, and letters by Travis Lanham. I've said it for each of these. Not the biggest Straczynski guy, but I do love these ideas. This idea of these one-shot comics that mix characters who may not normally mix. The last couple have been really good. I love the Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon one. I had a lot of fun with the Captain America and Volstagg one. And as much as I'm a big Captain America fan, can't tell by the t-shirt, this is actually the one that I pointed out when it was announced. Nick Fury versus Fang Foom. Fuck yeah, I want that. So we're getting what seems like a younger Nick Fury. I don't know exactly where they're going to bring it in the timeline. They've kind of, with these, not really cared much about timelines. And in this one, it does seem like we have a younger Nick Fury who's still at war, possibly Vietnam, possibly World War II, who knows. But he's teaming up with the Howling Commandos to take on Fang Foom. And what more could I want out of a comic book? That just sounds like a ton of fun. So I'm excited to get my hands on this one, see what it's all about, and enjoy the ride. Because not only is it a great pairing, not only has it been a fun ride so far through 2 issues, but how often does Marvel give us Fang Foom? Not enough is the answer. So yeah, I'm super excited for this one. After that, I have Redcoat number 10. This is written by Geoff Johns with art by Artist-Bryan Hitch, inks by Andrew Currie, and colors by Brad Anderson. Ghost Machine, another label that keeps popping up on this series just because I'm enjoying these books so much. And Redcoat is the cream of the crop for me. It's everything that I want out of Geoff Johns in particular. Like, I know he's somewhat of a history buff. I know he has this affinity for this style of book. And to get this character, this Simon Pure, this British Redcoat for Revolutionary War, becomes immortal and all this stuff. And then we're just going to get fun stories along the way about people throughout history in very fictitious ways. I seriously doubt that Johnny Appleseed grew giant apples everywhere, but it's just been a ton of fun to watch it happen. And we had this long story arc where Simon Pure met a young Albert Einstein, which ended with Albert Einstein's death later in his life. We got the one shot with Johnny Appleseed, and I don't know if this is a one shot or not, but now he's a little bit further into the timeline, and he's meeting up with none other than Annie Oakley. So Simon Pure in the Old West. We get a cool little Old West story with Simon's brand of sarcasm and just craziness. It's a fun book that I just cannot recommend enough to people. Even if you're not the biggest history buff, I just think they're fun stories with characters that you most likely know in some way. He hasn't really hit anybody that you didn't see in high school history class. It's not like he's going to some deep well for random persons yet. But I think it's been just a good time with a lovable loser main character. And then Bryan Hitch's art. Just, do I need to say more? Then we will end with Assorted Crisis Events number 1. This is written by Deniz Camp with art by Eric Straczynski, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Hassan Atsmain El-Hal. Deniz is a guy who is an up-and-comer and has really hit this part in his career where he's becoming a household name with what he's doing with the Ultimate Universe, with the Ultimates book, with this Ultimates crossover coming out, and just other stuff he's done randomly at Marvel. And while I'm sure this isn't his first independent book, this is his first independent book as a bigger name. So he put in his time, he paid his dues, and now he's got his big book at Image that is really out there in the open for people to see. And I think it's a cool idea. We've got a weird universe where there's a crisis in time. I believe at some point it was compared to like a Crisis on Infinite Earths, but in the future, where you don't know who's going to show up. There could be cavemen showing up. There could be medieval knights showing up. There could be cyborg soldiers that just got out of World War IV. There could be whatever. But they're stuck in this time loop, time vacuum thing, and have to figure out a way to live together in this weird post-apocalyptic, reality-bending alternate universe. And Deniz wants to tell stories about that area, that time, that place, whatever it is. So while we don't have a through line main character we may be following, it's more of an anthology style book set in this weird universe. I just think it's a cool idea. It's something that we as comics people know very well. We know all about battle worlds and infinite crises and all these kinds of things. So he's taking that idea fictitiously, or at least outside of the main two, doing his own thing and just going buck wild with it. And I'm here for it. I'm excited to see what he has. This is one of those books that for a guy like Dennis could be the breakout. For him to do something beyond just what he's doing at Marvel. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. I'm loving what he's doing at Marvel. But it just sounds like a really cool idea. And it's got a really neat cover, and it's got a great art team, and I'm just super excited to check it out. So everybody, that is all we have this week. If you want to follow me further, you can do it in a couple of ways. First, you can go over to chriscomicscorner.substack.com, or you can follow my podcast, Fortress of Comic News, where every week we talk to a new creator. We talk about the news. We do all that fun stuff in a nice hour and a half, 2-hour format. And if you want to support this video and this channel, first you can find all that podcast stuff right here on this channel, so check it out there. But you can like this video, comment down below, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. So thank you all so much for watching this week. I'll see you here next time.